Welcome to this hobby of ours. I am your host, D, and this is part 2 of our Rolex alternatives exploration based on the inspiration of a fellow YouTuber, Mike at ThisWatchThatWatch. Major shout out to you, sir, and your channel, and the watch video that inspired me to go out and make my own of the similar ilk. Meaning, we're going to look at the Rolex sports models in today's video, and we're going to see which ones I think might be a good substitute. Mike made a fabulous video. Link to his channel and that video is in the description. He went through the entire catalog, found a suitable alternate. Sometimes costs less, sometimes costs more. But I agree with a great deal of the ones he chose. I have some different opinions about it as well. Plus, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so I went and I chose 5 different major watch brands and picked one for each of them. And then I have a 6th one thrown in there, a rando, which is more or less my choice for the substitution, particularly in the case where one of the other major 5s did not have the substitute that I was looking for. So kind of a wild card in number 6. And before we get into it, let's pay some bills. Hobbyofhours.com. We have got Porsche design t-shirts. We have got 1001 Watch Designs, Volume 1, the book. So if you'd like to support the channel, go ahead and head over there and get you some merch. So without further ado, and a major shout out to you, Mike. Thank you for your inspiration, sir. Let's get right to it. Let's dive in. And diving right into Rolex sports models. Reminder, in the upper left corner, we will have the Rolex watch. Lower left corner, we will have Mike's picks. And then going across to the right, Omega, Tudor, Seiko, or Grand Seiko, Oris, Steinhardt, and a rando pick from yours truly. Front and center, Submariner. Mike went with the Glashütte Original CQ. Hot take, this is my least favorite watch that is getting a lot of press over the past year. And I love the brand and I love that big date. I do not love the big numerals or that big arrow hand. I think partly because they released, not Glashütte, but the industry, in the 70s. This is a very, I don't want to say common, but prevalent design for I don't want to say off-brand, but frankly brands that aren't around anymore. They made dive watches with this numerology, numbers. I particularly don't like the open-ended 6. That doesn't make it a bad watch. It's a fabulous watch based on the specs. And I have seen these in person. Even though this one is in dear old green, I'm not a fan of the watch. And it's okay if you are. It's important to love the watches that you love for the reasons you love them, and not because of what some Yahoo on YouTube like me says. Still a good piece, but not for me. Fairly obvious Omega. The Seamaster line. And pick a Seamaster, any modern Seamaster anyways, whether it's Planet Ocean or the Green Machine, anything, is certainly going to be a, suitable alternate. And the movement is better than what's in the Rolex. The coaxial movement is superior. There's just no questioning that. Both are purpose-built, both are amazing watches, and fairly easy one for Omega. Tudor. I went with the new monochrome Black Bay. You could go with the generic Black Bay line, but with this watch, the more I see this watch, the more I love it. And it is certainly hearkening back to Tudor's own design language, and obviously a suitable alternate for a subby. For the Seiko, old school SKX. Doesn't get any better. And a friend of mine used to say that anyone who owns a Submariner doesn't take it diving, they take their SKX diving. 200 meters water resistance, reviewed to the utter ends of the earth. And I'm still surprised that Seiko got rid of it. You can still get these though for under $400. And I'm probably going to have to get one of these before they get up to $800. Oris, no surprise here. The Aquis. I chose one in 40 millimeters. I think that is certainly the sweet spot and is Oris's, mainstay in the diver. Get ready for a hot take. The Steinhardt Ocean Dial Comex Tribute If you don't know what the Rolex Comex is, it is a watch they did in partnership with that diving organization back in the day. And the word Comex appears in a rectangular white box on the dial. I gotta say, it's Steinhardt, even though this is a semi-limited edition here, a little bit too on the nose for me. But wow, fairly good dive watch. Steinhardt makes probably the best homage watches of Rolex out there going. One of my major deviations from Mike, I'm putting in the Blancpain here. They recently released a 42. Blancpain, you make an amazing watch. The quality is there. The quality is superior to Rolex. I would love you to do something in 40, maybe even in titanium, Blancpain. Titanium 40, that's what we want. Check your inbox. I sent you an email. Yachtmaster. The Yachtmaster, if we look at its origins, was always meant to be the fancy person's submariner. And with that in mind, this one in titanium, unobtainium, absolutely gorgeous, murdered out bezel. Would love to own and operate that if I could ever find one. Mike went with the IWC Yacht Club or the Panerai Luna Rosa. I think both of these are fine choices, but that IWC one for me is too dressy. I think spot on with the Luminor Panerai. An exotic material and, trusted and true dive watch. Can't go wrong with that Panerai. For me, I went a little bit curveball. I went with the Omega NCL 32, which is a chronograph, but it is a regatta timer. I own this watch, love this watch. Have to constantly service this watch. More on that in another episode. But this is Omega's venturing into the yachting world, so kind of a duck. Tudor, I went Pelagos 39. I have that watch, love that watch, also in titanium and significantly robusto, so also a bit of a duck. Then I went Grand Seiko, the SBGA 461. Absolutely beautiful and comparably expensive dive watch to the Yachtmaster. Though not on the secondary market prices, fairly great price. Oris, I went with the Carl Brashear in bronze. Reason being that Oris doesn't have a lot of varying materials out there, and the other Aquis that would have fit here would look pretty much just like the previous Aquis. So I wanted to break it up a little bit. Steiny, what are you doing? Steinhardt Ocean One in pink gold ceramic bezel, automatic Swiss dive watch, 103-0746. A little bit on the nose here, especially for one of the other Yachtmaster lineup, but gotta hand it, someone at Steinhardt is really studying the Rolex back catalog. And the rando choice, boom, the Tutima yachting watch, which is in titanium. It is a chronograph. It's got the Lemmy inside. So my two chronograph picks here, notwithstanding a good selection of alternative dive watches. But hey, this is Tutima's, Yachtmaster, so to speak, and that's why it fits. The Sea Dweller Deep Sea in gold, the big bad. And this is where Mike has the Blancpain fitting in there. And I can kind of see why with the special materials in the lower right, but for me, I just see the Blancpain fitting high, in one of the other categories. For me, the Omega Ultra Deep, it's their big bad thick watch for going super duper deep. Kind of a no-brainer there. The Pelagos FXD. Oh, wow. Is that a left-hand drive FXD? It is. That is the Pelagos FXD MOD by D and Friends on none other than the NDC strap. The strap made in partnership with watchestreet.com. That's Tudor's biggest, baddest diver, and the one that I modified to be left-hand drive. Even bigger, even badder. So, yep, shoe in for the win on Tudor. And then Seiko, the Marine Master line, is pretty much, foregoing the precious metals, but just going for size and depth rating. That's Seiko's best offering. Oris has the depth gauge watch. It's got an unusual complication there where it's got like a liquid filled runner going around the rehaut area that tells you the depth. I have to say, fairly interesting complication for a affordable watch. I'm really rather surprised by that. Steinhardt Steinhardt does make a larger, bigger, badder version of its dive watch called the 44. No precious metal here, but bigger and badder. I'm going to kind of skip over that one because, once again, Steinhardt begins to, fall off a little bit once we get into the higher end pieces. But check this out. The Rando, the Montre Charmex CX Swiss Military, 20,000 feet. Is that 20 leagues? How many feet in a league? I don't know. 20,000 feet diver. This thing is a brick, and I assure you, it is not fake. It is for reals, and it's well over a half an inch thick. Kind of a goony one, and not in gold, but what are you going to do? 20,000 feet. Explorer 2. Mike went with the Grand Seiko Evolution 9 GMT. Excellent choice, Mike. Can't fault you there. A little bit monochromatic, all in white. I find that all white watches are very difficult for me personally to read, so I think that GMT hand might have a pop of color. I myself am far away from the monitor, so I can't tell, but a good looking piece nonetheless. Somewhat hilarious, the Omega Polar GMT of their own ilk, but with a red hand. I've got one of these. I'm in the process of trying to modify it. I want a different bezel. I just do not like those letters. I'm probably going to swap on a dive bezel just like I did with the black one, so stay tuned. Maybe we'll do a salt and pepper episode with those two mods. And Tudor, somewhat simply the Black Bay Pro GMT. Obviously not, harkening to the Polar of the Rolex pictured, but harkening way back to the 1655, which is in, it's the original Explorer 2 for spelunkers with this colorway, and frankly the bezel numerology, the numbering there. That is the appropriate one. And you might laugh, but the Alpinist is coming in. Once again, the Alpinist showed up in the previous deck for the dress watches versus the Explorer. This is the Alpinist GMT in white. I also own this watch, got it from Moyer. Big shout out to Derek and Moyer. Love you guys. Sorted me out. Reach out to them. Tell them I sent you. They will sort you out as well. They will take care of you. You don't have to live in Indiana. They ship anywhere. But this is the GMT in white, and I think that adding a GMT complication to the Alpinist was absolutely brilliant. Seiko, well done you. And it even, this one even matches the colorway that we've got pictured. Oris. Again, not a great match, just like they didn't have a super duper great match for the Explorer 1. Just about the same here, although at least this one does have a GMT. It's the Big Crown Pro Pilot GMT Small Seconds. 748-77104-164 MB. 748-77-104-164 MB. Yeah, good job. Good effort, I should say, Oris. Sneaking in a GMT complication into your pilot's watch. Well done, you. And another watch that I used to own. Steinhardt. Once again, paying homage to the 1655 in much the same way the Tudor is doing, but the Steinhardt is a little bit more on the nose. There's not a whole lot of unique design language here. But I own this watch briefly, and Steinhardt makes a quality watch. So if you admire some of these more expensive pieces, but you aren't there yet as a collector, you aren't there yet in your career, it's totally okay. It's far better to get one of these than to get an F watch that isn't real. At least this is honest. It's telling you what it is. And somewhat hilariously, somewhat similarly, in the Rando category, the Mark II LRRP Capstone. This is from Bill Yal's team out of Eastern Pennsylvania. Had this watch, loved it. Had to sell it because it was too large for me. It was a 42, 43-ish. But what Mark II does is they take inspiration from typically older Rolex pieces and then they improve them. Improve, yes, a dangerous thing to say, I realize, but that bezel rotates. So with this LRRP Capstone, you can track a third time zone, and I actually got to meet Bill at a meetup, and I asked him to re-release this in 40 millimeters because it would absolutely crush. I would adore it to death. They make such great watches. Wasting no time, cutting to the quick, the Rolex GMT Master 2, the most hallowed of the modern Rolex sports watches. Mike's got a pair of winners down here, but just for me, not in this category. Obviously, the Omega is a good GMT, but I see that as too dressy. And the Seiko, the Grand Seiko, also too dressy with that icy blue. So I don't agree with you, brother, but I do respect you. Yeah, a bit too dressy. And I think Grand Seiko and Seiko have some suitable alternates. We'll find out in a second here. For me, my personal GMT Brosnan era Seamaster, the 2535.80, my ultimate one watch, my favorite watch in all of my collectiondom. Love this piece. Love, love, love this piece. Probably no surprise here. The Coke Blackberry GMT that Tudor just come out with. But I want to know who greenlit these these faux rivet bracelets back in the day, because that person, we need to stop them from designing stuff. I just don't like the fake rivets. There's just no point to having them, but I am also not the only one to ever feel that way. I chose the Grand Seiko SBGE 295 in green. That dial is amazing, amazing, amazing. You know, Grand Seiko makes fabulous dials. This one does have the spring drive, which makes it thicker and unfortunately prohibitively big for me. But gosh, it's so gorgeous. This is my ultimate choice as a golf watch because the bezel goes up to 24, and just absolutely beautiful. I want Grand Seiko to shrink that movement down a bit so they don't wear as tall, that they don't wear as, or rather don't stand as proud. The Aquis GMT date, reference 01-798-7754. You know, a GMT from the Aquis lineup. The only thing I don't like about the Aquis lineup is the integrated bracelet or strap juncture where you are forced to use their stuff. I don't like that. I very rarely like being forced into the OEM pipeline. Now, controversial one, the Ocean 39 GMT Titanium blue and black. Rather, it's an amazing Batman homage in titanium, slightly different numbers going around, and for me, a watch I ought not to have skipped over. Ricardo picked one of these up based on my recommendation, and he loves it to pieces, and I think I probably tried to convince him to get one because I really want to get one. These can be had very affordably on the pre-owned market as well. Figure on, I don't know, $600 to $900, somewhere in there, and an absolutely wonderful watch. I don't know why I'm not hunting one. It might be a little bit redundant with some of my other plans, but a gorgeous offering from Steinhardt, and probably one of the best ones in this whole exercise from them that we've reviewed thus far. Rando, the Christopher Ward C60 Mark II logo, black dial, green ceramic insert, 600 meters of water resistance, and certainly a candidate for the best watch of all time. You have to check out that episode. The reason I feel that way is I love this bezel. The lighting's a little bit blurred out here, but it's a 24-hour scaled bezel, but it's got the diving increments of 1 minute all the way from 0 to 15, and it is unidirectional. So not only is it a dive watch, it is the channel's colors, and I think it is the most perfect bezel ever made for a GMT. You can use it as a diver. You can use it more readily for, tracking, cooking of your steak or whatnot. That Omega in the upper left corner, also a contender. They put the 24-hour scaling on the dial itself as opposed to the bezel. So it's a toss-up. Easily two of my favorite bezels of all time, and certainly a pair of my favorite watches as well. Last, but certainly not least, the Daytona. And Mike went for the beautiful Omega Speedmaster, the Moonwatch with white dial. Absolutely gorgeous, a great pick, sir. So much so that, yes, I agree with you, although I'm featuring this one in black here. Kind of a no-brainer from the brand. Tudor, kind of a wild and out one here. This is the Fast Rider offering, and the reason I went with this is it has the same... okay, obviously we could go with Tudor Big Block, 79 160s, or even the two-register modern Tudor chronograph. But this one has the 3 sub-registers in the same orientation as the Daytona, and it also has some peppy colorways to consider for it. So that's why I put that in here. Rethinking it on the fly, I think Tudor Big Block is probably a better substitute in there, but the Fast Rider is fun and frankly affordable, and no one's talking about it. Tudor has so many wonderful offerings in its back catalog, it's out of control. Seiko, Grand Seiko, I went with the Tentograph. Rather beautiful blue and that special functionality of the Tentograph. Fairly gorgeous watch. I haven't had a chance to try this on, and I imagine they offer this in different colorways, but to be frank, any Grand Seiko chronograph is going to be awesome, because awesome is in the sauce for Grand Seiko. What are you going to do? Oris Chronoris Grand Prix 1970. The Oris Chronoris line is their, claim to fame in the chronograph space, certainly motorsports themed here. I actually have this watch as well, absolutely gorgeous. They make a handful of other ones, and this is more or less grabber green. They make it in hugger orange. They've got a blue one that's really rather nice as well. This one is a little bit busy, but it does give you a GMT complication along on the ride. I've yet to find the perfect chronograph GMT. The Omega one is too thick for me, but that is the goal, that is the dream. And this one's fairly gorgeous and pretty special. Steinhardt, a little bit on the nose, Steiny with this one. It is in fact their version of the Paul Newman. And my only critique of Steinhardt chronographs, other than maybe adhering a little too closely to the design language and not branching off to do their own, is their chronographs are like 18 millimeters thick. They have a Valjoux 7750 in them. I'm not sure which one is in this one, but there's just no, in this day and age, Steinhardt, there is no need to have a chronograph that thick or that big. I do love their race timer, and which looks like the Tudor Monte Carlo, and too big. It's in titanium, but it's just too doggone big. Doggone? Goddall? It's too doggone big. Steinhardt, take my call, please. I could help you out. I could help you and your business out. And then last, probably a bit on the nose from your boy D, but the Zenith El Primero. Chronomaster Sport, probably the easiest one to pick as a possible substitute. I wouldn't call this a Daytona killer so much as a obvious Daytona copier, but they make a great watch. What are you going to do? So much so that the Daytona used to have the El Primero movement in it. There you have it. Chapter 2, Part 2, DEUX of the Rolex alternates. I had a lot of fun doing this, Mike, and I hope you got to... I'm talking to you like we're hanging out. I hope you did get to see these videos and maybe got some enjoyment out of knowing that your work inspired the work of others. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's a part of sharing in the hobby. And if you have any alternates that somehow didn't make it into this cut that are on your mind as possible substitutes, I would love to hear about them. So just drop me a note here or on Instagram and let me know your thoughts. All right. Hope that wherever you are in this wonderful, beautiful hobby of ours, you're doing well, that you're blessed. We will catch you in the next one. Peace. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to hobbyofhours.com. We've got artwork, coffee mugs, hats, t-shirts, and even a watch book. 1001 Watch Designs, Volume 1. Over 1,000 designs in here. Steampunk, super futuristic, kaleidoscope, even super real ones. Watches that you could probably put on your wrist today. It's a great way to support the channel. Thanks for coming along on the ride.